For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we have another very special guest for you today. She's currently in Nashville, Tennessee. We have Kennedy Frohawk. How's it going today?
I'm good. How are you, Tom?
Doing pretty good. Now, are you from Nashville, or where are you from originally?
I'm from Sikeston, Missouri, which is a little town in southeast Missouri, about 2.5 hours south of St. Louis.
Okay. I feel like we've had this conversation before because it came up. I went to school at Southern Illinois, so I feel like that
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, pretty close to Cape. So
Okay, gotcha. Actually, I almost went to work in Cape at one point in my career, and it just didn't work out. But yeah, so I'm very familiar with Cape and that entire area.
Yeah.
And so, well, what brought you to Nashville?
Well, I went to college in Greenville, Illinois, at Greenville University for music. I majored in music industry studies. And so I came to Nashville to do an internship with the International Songwriting Competition. Okay. And then my husband and I, we just really loved it here. So we stuck around, and we're just trying to do the whole music thing. So.
Gotcha. No, I mean, Nashville is the perfect place to do that.
Absolutely.
Before
Lots of great people to collaborate with and everything. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Before we get too far into this, I want to bring something up. I saw this as I was taking my lunch break at work today. You'd posted something very interesting to me that caught my eye yesterday about the importance of emotional and mental health.
Yes, my whole brand focuses a lot on emotional health. I think that's super important. And so, like, with my music, I try to provide just that kind of emotional outlet for my listeners so that when they are feeling brokenhearted or feeling some kind of feeling they feel like they just can't express, they can use my music to express that feeling in a safe way.
Awesome. That's awesome. Because one of the things that I've been really focusing on this podcast is trying to destigmatize the negative connotation that mental health seems to carry with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there shouldn't be a negative connotation with mental health because, I mean, health in general, it's just something that we all need to be aware of, and mental health and emotional health are part of that.
Exactly. And especially with musicians in particular, and I say this all the time, that I feel like it's especially important for them to be aware of their mental health, because every night that they're performing, they're making themselves so emotionally open and available for everybody to see. And then they're also just in the eye of the public or feel like they're being judged on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And if they don't have the support structure in their personal life to to kind of let themselves decompress, that's how they turn to alcoholism or whatever substance, and like dangerous things start to happen.
Oh yeah. And so yeah, it's really important to have those kinds of outlets that are healthy to turn to. So
Absolutely, absolutely. But I saw you post that yesterday and I was like, oh, we need to bring that up right away.
yes, I'm
So
glad you asked.
yeah. And so you're in Nashville currently. Are you playing music full time, or do you have a job to support your music habit?
Um, I have a job because I'm still trying to grow my fan base in the area since I just got here about a year ago. So I'm working at Cat Fiend Cat Cafe in Murfreesboro, and I love it there. Oh my goodness, cats are one of my favorite things in the world. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody who loves cats as much as I do.
No. Yeah. And so, since you brought it up, that's where you had your album release party, correct? That this
Yes,
past
it
Friday.
is. Yes, and that
And
went so well.
I was just gonna ask how it went. What was the process when you were getting ready to sit down? First of all, was this your first album that you've released, or where's it kind of rank in?
This is my first full-length album under my actual like name. I released 2 EPs in college as Outlaw, but everybody and their brother is Outlaw on streaming platforms, and
Yeah.
so you go to look up Outlaw and you get everything that isn't me. And
Yeah.
so it's like, well, Kennedy Frohawk is a whole lot more unique. So that's going to work a whole lot more in my favor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what was the process when you were getting ready to produce this album? Did you write a bunch of songs for the album, or did you already have a bunch of stuff written and was kind of like, oh, hey, these songs would fit perfect on an album together?
I actually wrote the songs for the album, and I noticed like throughout the process before I came up with the name for the album that each song had something to do with a promise made or a promise broken or a promise kept. And so I was like, well, Promises is just a really, really good name for this album. And all these songs just flow so well together that this is going to work. So.
Awesome. And what did you record it yourself, or did you go into like a studio?
I have a friend that I met in college who lives in Franklin. His name is Brian Connolly, and he did the vast majority of the engineering and producing on this album, and he did such a wonderful job. I'm so grateful to him.
And does the album have like a full band backing you, or is it just you doing like a solo acoustic style?
It's a full band style album. A lot of synth and electronic instruments, but it's definitely got that full band feel.
Cool. And how often do you get to play live with a full band, or is it majority just you doing the solo thing?
Well, back in college, I had a backing band, but when I moved to Nashville, they were still most of them in college, or they went to Chicago or St. Louis, and they went their various directions. And so right now it's just me, and my husband plays guitar for me because he's a whole lot better at that than I am. And so he co-writes my music with me and plays guitar for me.
That's awesome. I love it when I see a husband and wife duo that can play music together. It's,
Oh yeah, it's great. And you don't have to pay them.
Yep, that's very true. And then you also get to go out on the road together, or
oh yeah, it's a great bonding experience for sure. And he puts up with me a whole lot easier than a lot of other people would. So
yeah. Have you had an opportunity to kind of play outside of Nashville and do like a tour, or do you primarily just play in Nashville and try and make that work?
I haven't gone on a tour yet. I'd love to in the future. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. But right now, it's mostly Murfreesboro and Nashville area gigs that I'm doing. So.
Gotcha. And have you were you playing, or well, let's kind of start from the beginning so people kind of get a gist of your musical history and all that fun stuff.
Okay.
What got you into music?
Okay, so when I was 3, my mom put me into dance lessons. And yeah, I did that for 8 years. And toward the end of those 8 years, I was like, man, I'm just not enjoying this. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to sing. So my mom, when I was 11, she found me a vocal coach. And so I started learning piano and I started learning how to sing. And back then it was just like to karaoke tracks at the little theater down in New Madrid. And then at 13, I picked up the guitar. And then around 15 or 16, I started writing my own music. And back then I was a country artist. And since then, I've delved into so many different genres. I've done folk, I've done alternative. I had a rock band for a little bit. That was really interesting. It was really high energy and a lot of fun. Right now, I'm doing more of like a pop rock kind of sound, kind of like Red Era Taylor Swift. But yeah.
And is what, because you'd mentioned that you initially signed up for dance class and that was kind of the
that got me on stage. And like my family, like I'd come from a family of people who does not get up in front of people. They don't speak in front of people. They don't like crowds, And so like if it weren't for those dance lessons, I'm not sure that I would be doing music, because that's what like got me comfortable with being on stage, was doing all those dance recitals and dance competitions and all of that. I didn't enjoy it, but I'm really grateful for that time of my life, because without it, I'm not sure I'd be doing music.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you can trace it back to that. And looking back, I'm sure everybody can draw the positives out of something that maybe they didn't enjoy, but if it wasn't for that specific thing, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing now.
Absolutely.
So that's very interesting. So were you playing music back in Missouri when you were living there? Or
yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I did all kinds of gigs in Sykeston and the surrounding areas, and yeah, I was pretty active back in my hometown. So.
And then you went to college, played during college, and then moved out to Nashville.
Yes.
Okay. How from when and you said you had recorded some albums under the name Outlaw, and that was that the band phase of your?
No, the band phase was actually beyond Frohawk.
Okay.
And that was really interesting. We tried to do an EP, but the band just kind of fell apart.
Most bands do.
Our personalities kind of clashed. We're all still really good friends, but just working together and being together that much, I think, just kind of put a strain on things. And so Outlaw was the name that I used when it was just me and my husband doing music. And so we released an EP that was folky, kind of had folky sounds to it. It was completely acoustic instruments, no electronic instruments at all, no electric guitars. It was all like acoustic guitar, there's banjo, and just that kind of feel to it. I even had a sample of the grandfather clock that was in the library I worked at during college in one of the songs on the EP. And so that was really cool.
That's
and
awesome.
then our second EP, it had more of the like alternative kind of sound. I got a little bit more experimental with it. I had a song on there called Jovian. And I absolutely love this song, and it's a 7-minute and 45-second song. But I wrote it like that on purpose. I was like, I'm going to write an epic. That is my big goal. I want to write an epic. And so it has
like a Bohemian Rhapsody style epic.
Not quite. I don't think I can ever achieve that level of greatness, but okay. I appreciate that. But it's got violins and cello and horns, and it's a lot of fun. I love that song. It's one of my prouder works.
And was under Outlaw, that first EP that you recorded, was that the first time that you had stepped into a recording studio, or were you still recording even before that?
I'd recorded like a few singles here and there, but that was like the first like big project. A lot of the other stuff I was doing was just because, you know, the engineers at school needed somebody to record for their project that they were doing for class. And so that was like my first big like studio project.
Okay. Awesome. And what did you take away from that specific project? How did that prepare you for going into, or what did you take away from that experience that would help prepare you to go in a second time and then again recently with Promises?
Oh, that's actually a really good question. Well, I found that I'm actually like pretty good at like vocal producing, and not like the engineering part of that, but like just like hearing the vocals and being like, oh wait, I need to add more emotion, or I need to, you know, there's just like these little nuances that need to be fixed, and it like takes it up to a whole nother level. And so like that was like really cool, realizing I had that kind of talent that I didn't know I had, and I've been able to take that into these other projects as well. So that's pretty neat.
Nice. And do you have any music plans for like music videos coming off of Promises for like any of the lead singles and stuff like that?
I'm hoping to have a music video come out in April or May for Next to the Sea, and that one's going to be completely recorded on iPhone because that's what I can afford, and so we're going to see what I can do with that. But I'm going on a cruise in April, and so we're going to just kind of shoot some really cool footage of the cruise.
Oh, wow.
And try to throw something neat together. We'll see how it works.
Actually, that's a very, I'm going to go on a little of a film geek rant here. That's very what they call mumblecore. It was a movement back in the late 2000s where they would shoot stuff with what they had available. So if like somebody was going on vacation to Kentucky or something, they would shoot a film based on going on a trip to Kentucky. So that's very, I've been very intrigued by that style and the people that produce stuff like that. So that's why I brought it up.
I'm pretty excited about that. So
nice.
It'll be my first music video. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't done one before, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, like, just shoot for the moon, and if you need help with any of that, just let me know. Like, obviously, that's what I do here on live or with Live and Amplified and whatnot. And if you want any advice on any of that stuff, we'd definitely be glad to help you any way we can.
Well, thank you.
Because we're, just music videos are awesome. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
But so what is one thing that you want people to know about your music like, especially if they're like a first time listener and this is the first time they're hearing you, what's one thing you want them to know about your music?
Um, I write music, it all just comes from like personal experiences or from my friends' personal experiences. So it's all like very close to me. It's all very real. You're not going to be getting anything fake from me. It's all like real emotion. There's a song on the album. It's called Hell Hath No Fire. And I wrote that song because about a year and a half ago, I started noticing that I had symptoms of depression. And so I wanted to write a song about my experiences with depression and about my husband, who has been so, so good to me throughout all of that. And so that's all very raw and very real. And so they're not going to get anything fake from me.
Nice. That's always good. And then obviously we talked earlier about our feelings on depression and mental health, so we don't even need to touch on that. But, just how important it is to make sure you keep an open line of communication and all that stuff. So
absolutely.
How do you, since you and your husband play music together, how do you guys challenge each other to kind of become better performers or musicians or anything? Like, how do you?
Well, I think that he notices some things that maybe I didn't notice. So like we go to perform and I'm like, or maybe like when we're practicing, I'm like, okay, well, there's this thing that I feel like it wasn't quite right. What was wrong with it? And he's like, oh, well, it was this. And, like maybe you missed this right here, or I missed this right here. And then like Luke, he's more of a behind the scenes kind of guy. He prefers to do the engineering thing. He's actually working with CTS right now out of Brentwood. And hopefully soon moving up into a live audio position with them. But and so like he notices all the little things. And but since he's also just not as comfortable with performing, like I can help draw some of that out of him, get him a little bit more interacting with the audience and that kind of stuff, So we do definitely bring out the best in each other, that's for sure. So
perfect. Now, one thing that we really like to do is we're trying to help cultivate younger musicians and make sure we try and. Now, I don't want to say point them in the right direction because I feel like that's very subjective, but give them good information to help them find their own way in the music industry. What advice do you have for a younger musician that's maybe just getting started?
I would say that oftentimes it is very discouraging, but like don't take that discouragement to heart, because like, oh my goodness, I have faced so much discouragement since I started doing music. And I get no's like every time I turn around, like, no, you can't have this gig, or no, you didn't get this audition, or, all the things. But, it's just not the right time. It's not the right place, or it's not the right person. There is an audience for your music, and you will find them if you have the guts and the ambition to go for it. So just don't let anything stop you.
This next question is going to sound a little weird, but I want what's the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
The worst piece of advice I've ever received. Oh, that's actually a really good question. Oh my goodness. I don't know.
And I mean, I
I
guess
feel like maybe I
guess
feel like maybe I just like block out the bad things and like, I just don't retain them. I don't
yeah.
know.
And I was going to say, I guess it doesn't even have to pertain to the music industry in general, but yeah, we can go ahead and move on if you don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Nothing's coming to mind right now. So
Okay, not a problem. It was usually I ask what the best piece of advice people get, but then I've noticed that I get an answer of basically what I just said, so I was trying out a different way to ask the question.
yeah.
So when you're not playing music, what are you doing? Like what are some of the hobbies outside of the music business that you enjoy?
Well, I play a lot of The Sims 4. That's a lot of fun. It's the only video game I really play, unless it's Mario Kart. I am really, really good at Mario Kart.
Okay.
I also really like to read. I love Harry Potter. Like, Harry Potter is the best series in my opinion. But and I watch a lot of like Netflix and Disney Plus and all of that good stuff. But
Yeah.
spend a lot of time with my cats. So.
Yeah. I was about ready to get rid of my Disney Plus subscription about a month ago, just because I felt like I'd kind of watched everything that I had wanted to watch. And then I went in and found out that they had like a whole bunch of like the Nat Geo and History Channel stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, all right, you got me for another couple months because there's so much here that I want to watch now,
Yep.
And I'm sure come April or so, they'll hit me again. So
Probably. They always do.
Yep. Good job. Good on you, Disney. But what's like your go-to on the Disney Plus channel?
Well, I love the Disney classic movies. So, like all those old Disney princess movies or Lion King and, just the Disney classics. I love those. And I like to rewatch the Disney Channel shows that I grew up with, like That's So Raven, Hannah Montana, all of those shows. Because now Disney Channel is just not nearly as good as it used to be, and so I like to just relive those days when it was actually good.
I'm actually I'm waiting for them to release because before they had like the Disney Channel original movies, it was like a Saturday, it was either Friday night on Disney or Saturday night on Disney, where it was the same basic thing where they had like made for TV movies. And then in the late 90s, it morphed over to like Disney Channel originals. And there was a bunch of movies they had released previously that were actually really good movies.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for them to release. And it's like, I want to watch these movies. I haven't seen them in years.
Right.
Like, movies like My Date with the President's Daughter and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm waiting for Disney to release that. It's like, come on, please.
Yeah, seriously. Like, get on it, Disney.
And then, of course, I'm sure they'll be releasing a whole bunch of new stuff. I keep reading about that new Lizzie McGuire series that they're working
that
on.
should be interesting. I was never like super into Lizzie McGuire, and like everybody loves it, but I don't know. That one was a miss for me.
Yeah, I think that was more my sister's show, and then by proxy, I had just kind of been aware of what it was. So
yeah.
But yeah, well, what I kind of interested about the Harry Potter stuff because I started reading the books back, like I think I made it to the third book, Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yes, that's it.
And then the book started getting really too long for me, and I was kind of
After that third book, they get like into the 500, 600, 700 page realm.
Yep, exactly. But I have
it took me forever to get through book 5, which, to be fair, that is the slowest book of the series.
Yep.
Hardly anything happens. I feel like it's just filler. But
yeah, I mean, I had once they started making the movies, I was just kind of like, okay, I got back into it for a while, and like even when they got to that point in the movies, it was just kind of like, I'm okay. So,
yep,
but I have been interested to get back into like the newer stuff they've been releasing.
Fantastic Beasts.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, I'm a huge Newt Scamander fan. I think he's super relatable, and I happen to be a Hufflepuff myself, so like, go represent, because I love it. But
Awesome.
yeah, he's a pretty awesome character. So
Have you tried to write a song based on Harry Potter at all, or is that?
no, I haven't. I've never really thought about doing that kind of thing. I don't guess. It'd be a really fun thing to do as a side project for sure. Just,
yeah, but I think it would.
why not?
It would probably play really well as like a digital distribution type thing, because I'm sure there are plenty Harry Potter fans that would listen to it.
Oh, absolutely.
But so we've talked a lot about what you're currently doing and what you've done in the past.
Mhm.
Where do you see your music career going? Where do you want to take it? Like, what's the plan moving forward?
Well, the smaller goal is, be able to make a living with my music. Like, that would be ideal, because, I don't want to have, I also work at David's Bridal, but like, I don't want to keep having to find another part-time job or another part-time job, like, I want to be doing my own thing. I want to be making my own schedule. Like, that'd be great. Now, if I could make it even bigger than that, like actually have a significant fan base, play it maybe like the Ryman Auditorium, that'd be really cool, But, just mostly I just want to be able to make a living doing music.
Nice.
But,
And since you do play music and you said you're currently working 2 jobs?
yes.
How do you kind of find the time, or how do you kind of balance all that and then have to have time to write and then still have a relationship on top of that? What's that juggling act like?
Well, fortunately, and I guess kind of also unfortunately, my 2 jobs don't work me very much at all. I work Saturdays at David's Bridal, and then I work like maybe 10 hours a week at Cat Fiend. And so I've got a lot of downtime to be working on music, and my evenings are usually free to spend with my husband. And so it's not been too hard to balance that yet. So
Gotcha. Man, that's good. Like, I mean, as long as you don't have to start picking up a 3rd job or something,
yeah. I hope not.
Yeah. And your husband also works full-time as well?
Yes, he works full-time at CTS.
Okay.
So.
And what's CTS for the people that don't know?
They provide sound equipment for like Casting Crowns and Brett Eldridge and like a bunch of those Christian and or country artists.
Okay.
So.
And he ultimately wants to do like go into sound engineering. And
yes, right now he's working in the warehouse, loading up the trucks, sending out the touring equipment, testing the touring equipment, all of that good stuff. But they said that they're going to move him up into a live audio position once they have one open up. So hopefully that'll be soon.
Gotcha.
Because they're expanding. So
that's all. Hey, good for him. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of ask you a couple of random questions. Just
sure.
do you have any useless talents?
Useless talents. Well, I can whistle like a cricket.
Okay, can we hear it?
Wait.
No.
Maybe if I can do it. Almost. I don't know. It's not in me today, I guess.
No,
So
it's all
I'm
right.
making a liar out of myself, but
No, you're good. We believe
but I
you.
swear I can do it. It just has to you have to catch me at the right time, apparently.
Nope. We're good. We believe you. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes. It's my favorite kind of pizza.
Ouch. Ouch. That's okay.
It's a controversial topic.
It is. It really is. I wouldn't have asked the question had I not. Yeah. What? Wow. I wasn't expecting you to say yes. Wow. Let's go down that rabbit hole. What is it about the pineapple on the pizza that you like?
Well, it's just like a really good mix of that savory and like kind of sweet, but not too sweet because it's not like sugary sweet, but it's got that little bit of a tang, and it's just so good.
And is it usually just pineapple that you like on your pizza, or do you put like sausage or something else on there?
If I'm gonna eat pineapple pizza, it's going to be just pineapple.
Okay.
But like I will eat just about any kind of pizza with the normal like toppings. So like pepperoni or sausage or beef or the supreme pizza, like all the normal things, But like I stay away from anchovies,
Yeah, understood. And what's your guilty pleasure song right now?
My guilty pleasure song.
And just for context, and we're on an even playing field, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this one.
Okay.
Mine is "Party in the USA" by Miley.
Oh, that's actually a pretty good one. I don't know. I don't know. A guilty pleasure band of mine, I guess, would be like Jonas Brothers. I really enjoy them. I don't think that they're like the best songwriters in the world. And like, I love really, really good songwriters, but I also really enjoy me some Jonas Brothers.
Yeah. Well, isn't which one's on The Voice right now? Isn't
Nick?
And then actually I think Joe is as well. I think he does the Australia voice.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm way into The Voice. Like for whatever reason, it's every other couple of months I'm on watching the top 10 voice auditions or whatever, and
Yeah,
I saw him pop up at one point. So
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why I know that stuff, but I do. So there's that. Let's go back to your songwriting a little bit. How do you decide what you're gonna write about when you sit down to write?
Well, I typically like have a list of things that I want to eventually write about. And so like when I sit down to write a song, I go to that list and I see if any of those things really catches my eye, really like I get some kind of inspiration from one of those things. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If I don't, then I just, I like start looking for just random words or something that just spark my interest. And then I kind of go from there and see what happens. And sometimes it turns out a hit, like Next to the Sea. I think that one was one of my better works. And like that one was totally unexpected. It was totally different direction for me. But and then sometimes I have total flops. I'm like, okay, no, this song needs to be scrapped. And I'm just going to put that away because that's not good.
Yeah. Do you usually like to have a melody before you start writing, or do you write and then form your melody?
I typically write the lyrics first. Now, sometimes the lyrics, like, they just kind of put together their own melody. And so, like, sometimes that comes super easy. And, like, I don't have to think too much on the melody. But then sometimes, like, I have to kind of force a melody and then, like, tweak it a little bit to make it work. Or, like, I take it to my husband and I'm like, okay, let's try to churn out some music so that I can come up with a melody for this song, because it's not coming to me, because he usually is more on the music side of things than I am as far as the songwriting process goes.
Gotcha. And so has there ever been a situation where you guys will just kind of be like jamming a little bit and he's playing an interesting little tune that inspires a song, or
Oh yeah, that's happened a few times. I cannot think of which song it was, but it was on the second EP that we did. He had a little lick that he was playing. I was like, wait, stop, record that, because I'm going to do something with that.
Gotcha.
So then he'll send that to me, and then I'll try to work some lyrics around it. So.
Wonderful. I was just kind of strolling through your website here, and I landed on your music or your album catalog, and I noticed that while you were performing as Outlaw, you had like both the albums were named Tunnel Vision and then either Eye of the Storm or Soar Above.
Yes, so that was a 2-part project because I wanted to do a full-length project and my professor told me no. Oh. And so I was like, okay, we're making it a 2-part project. and
so you released the second one after you got through school,
yes.
through the class?
They were both during school. Okay. But the first album, it was a lot of like negative songs, and so like the second album, I made sure each of those songs, or EP I guess, I made sure each of those songs had an answer for a song in the first EP. So they are all connected.
That's really cool.
Kind of turns everything on its head, makes it more positive. So.
Awesome. That's really cool. I would have never thought to do something like that.
Yeah, it was just kind of a connection I made after I released the first one. So.
And how is your music style and writing style changed from writing under the banner of Outlaw to now?
When I was doing Outlaw, when I first started, I was like, I wanted to be like the next Civil Wars. I listened to so much Civil Wars then. I was like, okay, I love the folk sound. This is what I want to do. And then like, since then, I've discovered that, I actually do kind of enjoy the pop sound as well. So I've started like getting more into that. I was really like anti synth and MIDI instruments. I was like, no, that's lazy. But now I'm like, but I guess you can do some pretty cool things with those that you can't do with like an actual instrument. So I got more open to that for sure. And then I created some actual pop songs on this new album. And, yeah.
I was talking to a band the other day that they had just started messing around with like an MPC and bringing in like synths and stuff like that. And so there's definitely something to it, because I've seen a lot of bands that are starting to, especially for like their live shows, they're starting to figure out ways to incorporate like synth and stuff like that.
So, yeah. There's a lot more to it than I had originally thought. So
yeah.
I'm a lot more open-minded now.
Because I mean, I was in the same boat. I was just like, like there was always the there's that one SNL video where they're making fun of people that do like the electronic music and play synth, that all they do is hit the space bar.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not like, after actually working with actual musicians, I know that's not the case anymore.
No, it's not. Yeah, I've definitely learned that myself. So
Yeah. And but yeah, it's just the evolution of knowledge. So like
yes,
as you kind of go through the process here, you kind of pick up things.
yes, you
Um,
do.
so what's your upcoming show schedule looking like? Do you
Um, I don't have any date set in stone right now. I was going to have a house show here in Murfreesboro this coming Sunday, but we had to reschedule because one of the performers who is she's been doing house shows for a really long time and she's helping me with this
Mhm.
like because I've never done it, and so she had a conflict come up that she needs to take care of, and so we're rescheduling that and we just haven't picked a date yet.
Gotcha.
But
Is it easier to do house shows outside of Nashville, like still within the greater Nashville area, than if you were like in city limits, I guess?
I honestly don't know because I haven't done any yet.
Okay.
So, I mean, I can let you know once I find out.
Okay. Well, because when I first started coming out to Nashville, doing like the live sessions and what have you, I would rent Airbnbs, and then after the first or second time I was out there, I was told, hey, if you're going to do that, don't do it within Nashville city limits because they're
Huh.
really starting to buckle down on what would be perceived as like a home studio or
Oh,
doing
yeah, that
business,
whole thing.
you know. And so then luckily I found a practice space that allows me to rent by the day. So,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
always good.
yeah, I heard about all of that and I think it's just horrible because, these engineers, like a lot of them, it's only feasible for them to do what they do out of
Yep.
their home.
Yep.
And
Or
so, like, I think that we should be allowing them to do that. Like,
mhm.
they're really contributing a great thing to music, and
Yep.
they're being hindered.
Yep. Unless they want a bunch of people living in like a downtown type district because they have to go live in their studio.
Yeah.
But one last thing I kind of want to touch on before we start kind of wrapping the interview up, because I don't want to jeopardize or occupy all your time. Was the tornado that came through last night.
Yes.
I you see the photos online that have been popping up the last like
Hmm.
18 to 20 hours or so. Uh,
Yes.
and were safe because you were further south, you said? Or
Yes.
how, did you know anybody that was affected? I mean, I'm sure you did, right?
Um, I don't. I know some people in the area.
Mm,
So far, I haven't heard of anybody that I personally know that was directly affected by the tornado.
mm,
I know a couple of people that live really close to the area that was affected, like within 6 miles,
mm,
but, but they didn't like have any damage done to their own homes, as
yeah,
far as I know. So
gotcha. No, it was just a very terrible thing, and I'm glad that I like one of the first videos I saw was it a News Channel 5 video? I think it was, where one of the reporters was walking down the street, just kind of live streaming
mhm.
to his audience, and just he was showing all these people like at 2 in the morning or whatever time it was at that time, just all these people out helping each other, which it was very nice to see. Like just
Oh yeah,
the communal aspect that Nashville has that maybe gets overlooked because it's a very touristy area. That
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah,
so,
and I feel like it's like how it was back when they had that really bad flood. I don't even know how many years ago that was now. But like Nashville is a community of really good, friendly, helpful people who are all looking out for each other. And I just think that that's a really wonderful thing. So
Yeah, it is. And like, I mean, even the few times that I've been through, I've had the exact same experiences, just like I'm lost in the walking down some random side street, and it's like, hey, I have no idea where I am. This is where I'm trying to get. Can you help me?
Yep.
And at one point I had somebody walk with me to make sure I got where I was going, and I wasn't expecting that.
That's
Just
very nice.
take time out of their day to make sure I got to where I needed to go. So, that I've had nothing but positive experiences, and when I see stuff like that get shown on a bigger scale, it's always a very good thing to see.
It is.
Unfortunately,
just teach them all how to drive.
I feel,
you can't have it all.
yes, that is true, but I feel like anywhere you go, nobody knows how to drive. Like grown up and driving in Chicago traffic, everywhere I go, I say I wish people, like, because I'm currently in Texas. Everywhere I go, I say I wish people in Texas knew how to drive. But then I go back to Chicago, and it's like, wait, people in Chicago don't know how to drive. What is going on? Like, so I think it's just one of those things where everywhere you go, people don't know how to drive.
You're probably right about that.
Yeah. But people that have lived in Illinois, they are the best drivers. I'm going to just say that.
Well, I mean, I was in Illinois for 4 years during college. Does that count?
Yeah, it does. But because especially down there in southern Illinois, because they got to run the levees of the Mississippi there. Like, like I had a lot of my friends that were from southern Illinois that I made while I was going to SIU. We'd go back to their parents' place over the weekend or whatever for like the random weekend to get away, and then they'd get in their truck and I'd see a completely different side of them watching rip around the levees on these old dirt roads, and it's like, man, all right, you guys can really drive. I'll trust you with my life, So, but anyways, that's a little side note for a different day. I'm going to ask you one last question, and it's going to be kind of a broad question, and I word it the way I do just to kind of give you room to take it where you want to take it. And
okay.
But why music?
Well, I just found that music is just a really good way for me to communicate exactly like what I'm going through, or my experiences, or what I'm feeling, or any of that. And like, I feel like oftentimes I don't really get my point across very well when I'm just having a conversation, but like when I write music, I feel like it comes together a whole lot better. And so like, it's just a really like solid form of communication for me. Like, you can really get to know me through my music.
Wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. And then where can everybody find you on social media and stuff to keep up with the new music, buy your current albums, and see your shows?
So you can follow me on Facebook. It's Kennedy Frohawk. I'm on Instagram at Kennedy_Frohawk. I'm on YouTube as Kennedy Frohawk. It's almost all Kennedy Frohawk. Now, I don't do a whole lot on YouTube. My two main platforms are Facebook and Instagram as far as social media goes. And then my music is on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Google Play, all of the main, like streaming and downloading platforms.
Awesome.
And then I've also got a website, kennedyfrohawk.com.
And that all that has the links to everything as well.
Yes, it does.
And all your music is on Spotify, so everything from Outlaw and then even before that.
I didn't have anything released before that.
Okay.
So it's from Outlaw and on.
Okay. Cool. Well, because I've noticed, or I've started to see a trend where people will take certain things down because it doesn't portray who they are currently, which is an interesting idea, but that I get, but I also don't get.
No, I like to leave my stuff up because, like, I'm still really proud of, like, my Outlaw phase. I think that I've released some really good stuff, but, like, even though it's not who I am anymore, like, I still want the world to hear it.
Exactly. And it's like it's a chapter of your musical career. Like,
yes.
Could you imagine reading Harry Potter without the first book because it doesn't represent what the fifth and sixth book are about? Like,
right. Or, like, Taylor Swift, she's a pop artist now, but like, would she, like, just get rid of all of her country music because she's a pop artist? Like, no, that's just, I don't think that we should be doing that.
No, not at all. And actually, I just recently remembered that she actually started doing country because I'm so used to her doing her pop stuff. And then somebody was like, "Oh, do you remember this song?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, she did do country music there for a while. That's how she got her start."
I was the biggest Taylor Swift fan, like, from when she first started, when she first released that first album, and then, like, through Red, like, I was a huge Taylor Swift fan through those 4 albums. Then she dropped 1989 and kind of lost me, but
gotcha.
I like her new stuff more than, like, 1989 and Reputation. Like, she's kind of pulling me back in a little bit. So
yeah, I mean, she's got to evolve and really express her music the way she's feeling. But there was a time there where it was just like, all right, you're making annoying pop music now, so.
Yeah, there's some songs that I can't listen to. I skip them.
Understood completely. But I want to thank you for giving me the time to sit down and chat with you.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate everybody's time, so we don't want to sit here and go on and on. So, but once again, just want to thank you. It was a great conversation. I hope you had a good time, and
I did. Thank you so much.
Hopefully we'll get back out to Nashville here sometime soon, and we'll be able to get you on a jam session or live session, whatever we're pushing at the time.
I'd love to.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. Wait, when did we originally talk? Was it back?
Oh man, it's been months ago.
Yeah, because I think it was back when I was trying to come out in July, I want to say June or July.
Yeah, I think so. It's been a while.
It's hard to make every trip we want to do happen. And luckily for me and Live and Amplified, we haven't really gotten burned too bad.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I have to cancel, I burn a slight part of a bridge, just because it's like, oh, he's not really trustworthy because he had to cancel, and that's just my insecurities about a lot of things. But
things happen.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll definitely let you know next time we're coming out to Nashville, and get you fully involved in everything that we're doing.
I'd love to.
And that was kind of the birth of this iteration of the podcast, because it was like, there's so many people we want to work with. We need to figure out a way to start incorporating them, get them get them some exposure to our audience. And
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
yeah. So that being said, I want to thank you one last time for your time. I want to
Yeah, thank you, Tom.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we will see you guys later.